I still remember going to see the first Iron Man movie with my dad back in 2008, and if you've seen my other videos, you know how I feel about the year 2008. I think it's one of the best years for movies in the modern era, and Iron Man was a big part of making that year feel special to me. The movie perfectly encapsulated what the comic meant to me, because Iron Man comics have always been about the light and the dark, the armored adventures and the demon in the bottle, the success and failures of Tony Stark. This movie gave us a fun, thrilling Iron Man story, but also layered on some deep, dark, fundamental failures and themes that define Tony Stark in this movie and somewhat for the rest of the MCU.
And what do you say to your other nickname, the Merchant of Death?
That's not bad.
I actually think that after Iron Man 1, the character of Tony Stark took a nosedive and became less human, less compelling, less layered. But that's for another time. For now, I just want to take a look at the first great failure of Tony Stark, and how this scene, a scene without a single word spoken by Robert Downey Jr., a simple 2-minute scene, is one of the best comic book movie scenes of all time. The scene opens up with this amazing shot of Tony working on his Iron Man arm while we see a news report coming out from the Middle East. The pullback from the TV as Tony watches with anger in his eyes. The one goal of Tony Stark after he came out of that cave. The reason for his creation of Iron Man was to bring peace to those who needed it. People like Yinsen, who were stripped from their families in order to work for warlords. Warlords who built the reputation on the weapons that Stark created. The people who killed Yinsen were fueled by Stark himself, his weapons, his name, his company.
He wants to know, what do you think?
I think you got a lot of my weapons.
For those who don't remember the first Iron Man very well, this scene follows the scene after the gala, where Tony's confronted by Christine Everhart, the person he promised to hold himself accountable to. Tony's then shown photos of a town called Gulmira.
Is this what you call accountability? It's a town called Gulmira. Heard of it?
I'm from a small town called Gulmira. It's actually a nice place.
When were these taken?
Yesterday.
She shows photos of Stark weapons being used and set up in this town, weapons that Stark didn't approve of, and especially not after he denounced the arms creation of Stark Industries. Yet his name, his weapons, his company were still shipping out weapons to warlords and still killing people, and when he goes to confront Obadiah about it, he's shrugged off, ignored.
Who do you think locked you out? I was the one who filed the injunction against you.
Then we see it all, the failure of Tony Stark, because no matter how hard he tries, he can't stop them. He's one man against an entire company, a company fueled by greed, a company that funds a terrorist organization. Watching the television helplessly as Tony Stark fails to save all these people, as he fails to stop his company from ruining lives and tearing apart families like Yinsen's. Then he sees the man who killed Yinsen, still alive, destroying and ending lives. It wasn't enough, because every day people like Yinsen were suffering because of what his company had done, because what he had done.
What you just saw, that is your legacy, Stark. Your life's work in the hands of those murderers. Is that how you want to go out? Is this the last act of defiance of the great Tony Stark?
The TV plays an interesting role in this scene. It's almost like another character. A character with lines that add to the emotions of the scene and to the story. The TV is like an echo, like ghosts that haunt Tony. Then we get a shot of Tony just thinking in the dark, thinking of what he can do. How can he fulfill his promise to Yinsen, because he already failed. He failed to stop weapons from getting into Gulmira, and he failed to hold himself accountable. He failed to do anything. But he wasn't going to fail on Yinsen, to fail on the one man who believed he could become better, to the one man who gave him a chance. Then Tony turns to the glass and he sees his reflection. He sees the man who failed, the selfish billionaire who caused all of this to happen, the person who put his bottom line before the lives of others, and he hates it. He hates what he sees, a reflection of himself. It represents his ego, his narcissism, and everything that caused him to fail, everything that caused Yinsen to die, and what causes people around the world pain and turmoil every day. So he destroys the old Tony Stark, the Tony Stark who failed to save lives, to do the right thing. He can no longer stand him. He destroys him with the Iron Man glove. He destroys him with Iron Man. In order to right his wrongs, in order to do the thing he needed to do to be better than the old Tony Stark, in order to save the peoples whose lives had been ruined, and in order to make sure that nobody experienced what Yinsen experienced, what he experienced in that cave, he had to become something more, because Tony Stark can't stop Stark Industries. It's greater than him, and he can't stop the 10 rings. He's just a playboy, billionaire philanthropist. But Iron Man can. Iron Man can fix the wrongs of Tony Stark and do what must be done, what should be done, and he can fight the battle Tony Stark never could, and win. This 2-minute scene conveys the birth of Iron Man, and it shows so much about the character of Tony Stark himself. The rage, the failure, the ego that was, maybe the ego that is. It's Tony's failures that drive him towards being Iron Man, because this is not a Bruce Wayne situation where he could help more by not being Iron Man. He tried that. He fought against Obadiah in the boardroom, and he tried to stop his company, but he was just one man. He couldn't stop them. In order to become a hero, he had to destroy his image of himself, both metaphorically and literally in this case, and do what must be done for Yinsen and for himself, because it is at this point Tony learns responsibility. He learns accountability, which is a theme throughout the movie and throughout the MCU. It's because of Tony's failure to keep Stark Industries clean, because of Tony's failure to kill the 10 rings, and because of Tony's failure just to overall not be a egotistical dickhead, that people's lives were ruined. And somehow a 2 to 3 minute scene with no dialogue from the main character, with pure emotions, camera work, and symbolism, the movie conveys these ideas to us. And that is why, no matter how many MCU movies come out, no matter how many MCU movies there are, in my heart, Iron Man 1 will always be the best MCU movie and one of the greatest comic book movies of all time. I also just want to thank everybody for once again watching my video. I'm so sorry that I didn't get a Christmas special out. I ran into some technical difficulties and the video ended up being wiped from my hard drive. So that's a shame, but I promise that I will make up for it by making more videos. And I just want to let everybody know, if you like the video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It helps out a lot and I would really appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.